Hey, how's it going, everybody? And welcome back to Wally Weasel. And this is another episode of the Unnamed Show. Well, I don't know, maybe call it like the Cat's Paw or... maybe the Cat's Paw. That kind of works, because it's Fallout related and we used to be a Fallout channel. We will get back to that at some point. But for now, we're going to be talking about my past with wrestling. That's right. A kind of question that many of you may have asked as you're watching wrestling and realizing, or watching What's Up Wrestling, and realizing that hey, does this guy watch wrestling? Does he follow wrestling? He seems to know very little about modern wrestling, particularly because he's using a 2K18 game. What the hell, man? Was he rocking 2018 or 2017? I suppose when the game releases. This is what happens when you don't record a video without a script. And the history of me and wrestling, or I'll just answer the question right now of whether or not I watch wrestling, and the answer is no. I used to, but not anymore. I do keep up with the sideline stuff, the news and results on some shows, not all of them. There's one YouTube channel I'll watch that gives me all the details and stuff. That I was able to mention sideline stuff, like little joke about Sasha walking out, or not walking out of What's Up Wrestling. That was due to current events that may no longer be relevant. We will see in the coming weeks. And yeah, so that's kind of my connection to the modern day of wrestling. I do know that, Vince is out and Triple H and Steph and this other guy are in. I'm not sure his name, but apparently he's popular. I don't know. When I heard him, I was like, oh, who's that guy? I don't know. Again, that's me and modern day wrestling. But as I said, I did used to watch wrestling. I used to watch a lot of the Attitude Era wrestling. It's not like, PG kind of kicked me away. I was stopped watching long before then, probably halfway through the Ruthless Aggression era. But, I can almost probably pinpoint the exact date that I started watching wrestling for, I guess, the second time, technically, because I did used to watch it in, the early 90s, when everything was, colorful gimmicks. You got your Razor Ramones, your Diesels, your HBKs, your 1-2-3 Kids, and all that kind of jazz in the mid-90s. But it would be a sporadic thing. It's oh, hey, wrestling's on, right on. Let's check that out. And, we'd watch that for a bit, and then that would be it. It's not we watched it and it was oh, man, I sure hope Bret Hart can win the title. It was just basically oh, Bret Hart is fighting Razor Ramon. Right on. We don't know why, don't know what this is leading into. It's just Bret Hart is fighting Razor Ramon, and that's awesome. I did, and then when I got back into it, it was sometime in May 1999. If my hard drive was working, or my external hard drive, I could get the exact date, because I do know one of the first matches that I did see was actually Jeff Jarrett versus Godfather. I almost want to call him Pimp Daddy, but no. Even though Godfather kind of ripped me off there. No, it's the other way around. I'll admit to that. That's probably about it. That's the only the rip-off character you'll find in What's Up Wrestling. I don't know who Tornado is, so. But yeah, and I should really start saying but I'm saying it a lot. And that's another side effect of working without a script, just saying whatever I want, because it's Wally Weasel, and it's my channel, and it's a hobby as it is right now. So I don't have to put in all the work. Probably at some point. But anyway, it was Jeff Jarrett, Godfather, and my initial thought was Godfather was the sort of competitor who would challenge people with a female valet, and if he beat them, then that female valet would join his group. I had no idea that they were either independent workers or models hired in the city that they happened to be in. But, yeah. I didn't find that out until like much later. And this was all before the tragic events of Owen Hart, because I remember just leaving, I think it was for school, and my grandmother and I talked about it. I just talked about it for a bit. I was kind of like, that sucks, because I didn't really know much about Owen Hart. I was more knowledgeable. Well, I kind of knew more in the way that Bret Hart was a thing than Owen Hart. I mean, I knew enough about him, but it still, sucked in the end. And I remember the Owen Hart tribute show. And from there, I remember, watching wrestling for the next few years. The first pay-per-view event that we ordered was King of the Ring 99, where Stone Cold faced against Vince and Shane for control of the company, and then the shenanigans happened at the end of the match with, the ladder or the briefcase raising, and they just didn't mention why, even though it was supposed to be Big Boss Man. I guess they just kind of forgot that in the next promo. But that whole storyline, looking back on it, just seemed like a big mess that they were just, creating it as the nights went on. It's like, oh, we got to do something for the higher power story. Oh, well, I don't know. Let's get this going on. And who the hell is the higher power? And I was like, oh yeah, we'll deal with that later. And so yeah, that was kind of a messy storyline, but entertaining, because that was the Attitude Era. It was messy storylines, but entertaining storylines. Kind of like the guilty pleasure type stuff. So, anyway, I continued watching wrestling. The next pay-per-view event that we watched, I believe, was the Royal Rumble. The following one. Technically, it was, SummerSlam 98, although that was a thing copied in some way from, I guess my dad at work knew someone who had it, and so, made the copy. And then we watched the hell out of that one. That was the Highway to Hell event with Stone Cold and Undertaker in the main event, and in which, I think it was D'Lo Brown was, the only heel to actually win that event, and then it was faces the entire night. This is the night where ICP came out, sang their Freak Show song, their oddities. That was very entertaining show, and it actually helped inspire me in when I do my own pay-per-view events to kind of do the collection type videos at the end. Still not as good as that one. That one, honestly, the SummerSlam 98 was still the high bar for me. That and WrestleMania, I want to say 21. That highlight package was another inspiration on that I am trying to get, trying to overdo in my own, mindset. But I probably never will, because my editing software is basically just Windows Media Player or Video Player, and just, the free online one you can just download, the open source one. So until I actually bite the bullet and get Sony Vega or whatever, then just have to keep up with the juddering pauses on the end of each clip. Unfortunately, that kind of sucks. I wish I could fix that and figure out how to do it better. But yeah, those are my two inspirations. So anyways, I did watch most of it. I watched through the Invasion angle, which was, entertaining at the time. I could probably, do a whole retrospective video on that if anybody's interested. But suffice to say, I can't really look back on it with rose-tinted glasses, because it, like the higher power angle, just came out as a big mess. It's too much, too fast. Their original idea didn't work, and so they just ran with another idea that they just seemed to have half-cocked. So yeah, but by that point I was basically watching the replay shows, because still in school. I wasn't able to watch the Raw live, so I just either tape it or just watch the replay, which would play Tuesday afternoon. and they would have it all censored out, so that would suck. So I preferred to tape it, but at the same time, because they were taped, and because I was super lazy at the time and couldn't sit down for more than 5 minutes, I would usually just fast forward through the show. And if anything piqued my interest, then I would just, play it from there. But for the most part, I kind of, got the gist of it. It's like, Val Venus is fighting, Edge, and they're going back and forth, and right on. And then, Triple H is out here, he's talking about something, he's, saying, hey, Goldust, you slept with my wife, I'm gonna punch you in the face, or whatever, I don't know, I would just make up stuff. And that's how it was, like, when I was watching it by myself. My brothers were watching it as well, although they would be watching it themselves because they were able to watch the live broadcast, which kind of sucks because I wasn't there for those. WCW was never really a thing for me at the time. Like, I knew it existed, not to the point where I knew that the Monday Night Wars were going on. Like, I didn't know anything about that until, like, much, much, much later on into my wrestling viewing habits. And then I was like, oh, wow, there was an actual war, and it actually came close to WWE being, nothing. But, mismanagement, WCW, and all that stuff. And, like, I remember watching one episode of Thunder, and that didn't really entertain me. I can't even remember what was going on. I think Kevin Nash was on there doing something. And because we didn't really know what was going on in WCW, it was just basically like, oh, what are we doing? It's like watching a long-standing series and just coming into, like, season 18, episode 3, and you're just like, what the hell is all this? It's like, watching, I guess, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure today. Or just flipping to a random volume of that book and to a random chapter and then going, hey, I can understand it. I was like, no, you can't. And I wouldn't understand that because I haven't read JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'm one of the very few people who have not gotten into the series. It's not that I hate it, but... And as we're here talking about wrestling, we'll do a whole history of manga at some point in the future. Maybe that'll be the next behind-the-scenes video, the next Cat's Paw, if that's what we're going to keep calling this. I still kind of like Cat's Paw. So, yeah, WCW was never really a thing. ECW we watched, I think, one episode of, but we knew a little more about that being a thing, not to the degree of that's where all, like, the technical wrestling and that's where all the luchadors were. It was just more ECW is hardcore, and it's awesome that we're able to watch it. That was basically it. And I do feel bad that was my mindset at the time, but that was my mindset at the time. I can't really, change anything on that. When it comes to outside stuff, like I did see an indie show at one point. That was pretty entertaining. It was like the one wrestling show I ever went to, which was in the nearby area. It was okay. I got to high five someone and got a autograph. Not on that show, but on another show. My brother picked it up, got the autograph for me, and eventually the guy who gave me the autograph became the face, don't think he knows this, for a character that will be coming into What's Up Wrestling down the road. That, of course, being Stan the Man Stevens. Because we all know that Trake Stevens is the brother trying to reestablish the Stevens name, and so Stan's got to come in and, decimate it. Aside from that, like, when I broke away from wrestling, it was when I was watching it kind of on my own. Like, my oldest brother moved out, and then the next brother, he moved out. And, like, we watched wrestling for as long as we could, probably to 2003, 2004. And then it was just kind of me on my own watching it, and it just kind of got boring. Because part of what I enjoyed watching wrestling with my brother was that we would make up little tics for certain, people and stuff. Mike Chioda was freaking Mike Chioda. Whenever we saw Jimmy Cordeas and refereeing, we'd be all like, "Yo, Jimmy!" And yeah, it just stopped being fun when he was gone. So I kind of broke away from wrestling ever since then. And the only thing that I ever really watched was WrestleMania for another few years, but even then it was just like, it's just more of the same. It's just wrestling, I don't know. It's like why I don't watch, like, we're one of those people that is like, oh, the Super Bowl is on. It's still football, I've never watched football. I've never entertained by football. I don't know why I would suddenly watch this one game of football. It's not like it's different anyway. It's not like, they use different rules. It's the same thing with WrestleMania. It's like it's still wrestling. It's a more glamorous episode of Raw. And I'm pretty sure people will be calling me blasphemous for saying that. But when you think about it, it is basically the same thing. It's wrestling, it's people talking, it's more pyro, it's bigger stadium, there's bigger stakes and, longer matches. But at the end of the day, it's still, wrestling. And because of that, I think the only event that I really ever watch now is the Royal Rumble. And that's because I've never actually been bored watching a Rumble. Because it's always been exciting to, place bets on, who's going to win. Not like, real bets or whatever. Just playful bets. On, like, who's going to win, who's going to be the Final Four. And that's basically about as far as I go. I don't go like, oh, who's going to last the longest, who's going to last the least, who's going to get the most eliminations or whatever. It's just who's going to be Final Four and who's going to be the winner. And a few years ago, it was always like, who's going to eliminate Stardust, because everybody hates Stardust. Even Stardust hated Stardust. Poor Stardust. Poor Cody Rhodes, really. Why do they give him that gimmick? That made no sense. It's kind of like, we want to recreate Goldust, but... Anyways, side tangent on a thing that doesn't even matter anymore. It's just kind of like, the dark days of Cody Rhodes. Speaking about Cody Rhodes, and I'm pretty sure that's going to beg the question of, have I ever watched AEW or anything like that? And the answer is no. I have never seen an AEW show. I have never seen an AEW match. It intrigues me, the fan support that it gets. And, the people who talk about it, I hear nothing but good things. One day, maybe I'll give it a shot. I'll watch a show or event or something, maybe one day. But until then, I'll just listen from the outside on how it goes inside. The same thing with the Impact or TNA as it was. I would watch like some of the older shows, but that was only on like the ESPN Classics, when they would rebroadcast episodes that were on the pay-per-view, like the early days of TNA. So I do know some stuff about wrestling, there's that. I'm good at that. I just suck at understanding everything else. I'm trying to think of any other form of wrestling that, I suppose I could mention my own experience in amateur wrestling, because I did give that a try. I was like, hey, I could give amateur wrestling a try, because it was back when I thought about being a wrestler. I knew who I was going to be. I was going to be Ultra Guy, very much Ultimate Warrior ripoff. I was going to run to the ring. I was going to dress up like Macho Man and how he looked for his WrestleMania 4. It's basically, like a full bodysuit with tassels type deal, face paint, long hair. I was like, yeah, that's going to be the ultimate look. It's going to be more ultimate than Ultimate Warrior. It's going to be the Ultra Guy. I'm going to be the best damn person ever. I'm going to be all buff and stuff. But I suppose I should learn about wrestling. So the school I was in, like the high school, had a wrestling team. Or at least wrestling school. Or, no, team. Sort of. It was like someone was loosely affiliated with the school who taught wrestling. And students could just go in and learn. And participate in tournaments, but it wasn't like a highlighted feature of the school. It's not like they're like, hey, we got a wrestling team and you guys can call yourselves the Wolverines. It's just you do your own thing. And it was all right. It kind of felt like, that one episode of South Park where they did the WWF stuff, and it wasn't what I was after, because it wasn't like I was like, oh, it's going to be all awesome. We're going to learn about characters, and the suplexes are going to be the front headlocks into the lifting them up and dropping them onto their backs and stuff like that. And no, because the suplex were actually more, I think, like German suplexes or whatever. But it wasn't something that I found myself being very fond of. Some of the students there were very unmotivated towards teaching anyone who was new at the time. They were more, interested in just showing off or learning for themselves. It wasn't a very fun atmosphere, and the instructor didn't exactly help on that. So I quit and just never really looked back. It's not like, I wouldn't say don't do it yourself. For me, again, it was just the environment. It was the environment that caused me to leave. It wasn't just like that it sucked. It's because, I would have enjoyed learning. It's just, it was pretty bad. Aside from that, I think that's really about it. Like, as I said, I don't, it's not like I hate wrestling or anything. Obviously, I don't. I mean, wrestling is kind of like the main thing of this channel. Like, I'm recording this about just an hour and a half until our Battleground pay-per-view goes live. And that was a lot of fun. I enjoy calling the matches. I do miss doing my Howard Finkel impression, rest his soul. And that'll come back. I don't miss too much dropping the JoJo character. No one's really said, bring him back. I do. It's fun bringing him back, on sporadic times. Doing my Jesse Ventura type deal there. That was always fun. Turning Wally Weasel into early Vince McMahon announcing. Those are always fun. But for the most part, he's more, kind of JR. Just call the action as it is, or Gordon Soley. It's probably a bit more applicable because JR would actually have a bit more emotion and he would know the moves. And not that Gordon Soley wouldn't, but that's kind of like Wally Weasel. He's learning, Get off Wally Weasel's back. But yeah, I think this video has been going on long enough. If you have any questions or you want to yell at me for being someone like not a wrestling fan, and in your opinion, if that's how you want to put it, and like, hey, you suck, you need to actually learn wrestling and watch wrestling if you're going to do wrestling related content. And to that I kind of say, well, I'm not exactly running around open fields killing dragons either, and so and no one's really saying, hey, you're you're not actually out there blowing up Mako reactors. What's up with that? You can't highlight that. So that's kind of my answer to that. I do it because I enjoy it, so What's Up Wrestling will just keep going. And we are coming up to the 25-minute mark, and so I'm going to leave off with that, and I will see you all next time for more What's Up Wrestling, for more Cat's Paw. We'll come back live following SummerSlam. Maybe we'll do a manga anime history discussion, because that would be fun. My beginning certainly didn't start with Pokemon, that's for sure. So I will see you all next time, alright? This is Wally Weasel, or Joe of Wally Weasel, I guess, signing off. See you, everybody. Good people, my advertisements. Yes, not like, money advertisements, but maybe one day. Just want to advertise my Twitch channel and all that other stuff. Twitch.tv/Alanya Neville, long story there. Suffice to say, on Mondays we'll be doing Stray. We're almost finished that game. I think we got like maybe 1 or 2 more streams on that, possibly 2. And following that Tuesday is more Star Ocean. Doing as much as we can there. We're just starting. I think this is like the 3rd episode or so. Final Fantasy VII will be finishing soon. Be concluding at least sometime, I think, end of the month. It depends upon when I get a certain thing. I'm just waiting on like a splitter cable now, like splitter connection. Sorry, so I can use my capture card more effectively. When it comes to Wednesday, that's more Dragon Age. We'll be finishing off Frostback Basin. I'm hoping. We shouldn't have much more with that one. We should actually be finishing that one pretty soon. Which would be nice, we can move on to a new location. I don't like doing the same location over and over and over again. That's why I kind of, halted the Hinterlands for a little while, only to come back at later times. Maybe we'll finish the Hinterlands if we finish Frostback Basin fairly soon. Thursday, a new stream series. We started off the Yakuza series. We started with Yakuza 0. We did about an hour and a half of that just to kind of test out, see if Thursday was a good day for streaming. And it was all right, no problems with that. Friday, obviously, What's Up Wrestling. It's all good stuff there. I do want to put out the reminder that probably thinking now I won't stream Saints Row on the 25th. Well, maybe I will. I'll have to get some thought on that. That's the Thursday after the game comes out, because I won't be getting it until Wednesday, as I keep explaining it. But yes, I do intend to stream that game. That's probably going to be my new Monday stream game, but I do want to get an early stream on that prior to that. Get in on the rush of everybody going for Saints Row. Aside from all that, now it is time for me to say thank you all for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye.